Hello and welcome into part 2 of Joker Build's Jurassic World Evolution 3 Park. Today we are going to prioritise carrying on with our multi-species habitat, potentially adding in what I'd like to do is get both Ankylosaurus and Stegosaurus, if they will live together, in with the pachycephalosaurus. So that is the plan. Now, you might have noticed a slight change in format going on today, where we're featuring some extra music and no game sound effects. Well, this is basically because when I was recording this video, about 5 to 10 minutes in, my son turned up, and being a 4-year-old kid, it was not as helpful in the recording process as he would have liked to have been. So yeah, basically what I've had to do now is go back over it, mute the entire recording, obviously added in some music, and redub it, which is a fun process. So what we started off by doing was looking for the herbivores that we wanted to do, wanted to get into the pen, and researching the stegosaurus dig sites so that we could add them into the park, sending out as many scientists as we could to get it done as fast as we can, and decorating the staff centre while we waited. Now that we have lights and a few decorations kicking around in the staff centre, you might have noticed our first expedition returned with fossils for the Stegosaurus. However, we had to prioritise getting our dinosaurs well, because our Dilophosaurus group came down with an unknown ailment, which meant we had to send out the vet team, which, as you can tell, I cannot drive very well in this game. So yeah, we had to send out our vet team to go and diagnose what was wrong with our Dilophosaurus. This was when I kind of realised maybe it wasn't the wisest idea to have this little narrow section of path for us to drive down. Partly because it just doesn't look very good, and partly because it was really awkward to drive down, especially turning the tight corners without hitting guests. And while I'm not sure if running over your guests causes you any financial problems, I can't imagine it's brilliant for us. So at some point what I am going to do is have a look at widening that area and seeing if we can make it a bit more easy to drive down. Maybe add some staff paths or something that we can drive down. After scanning our Dilophosaurus, we can see that they had, well, bird flu, basically, the avian pox. Well, it's not actually bird flu, it might as well be. But this was something that then we needed to research the cure for, which, obviously, while I can boost their health with a quick dart in, we can't cure them without researching the cure. And of course, just to add insult to injury, while we're waiting to cure these Dilophosaurus, we get a storm warning, which I thought didn't look that bad. Let's see how that goes. This is when I realised I had to take a photo of the dinosaur to unlock researching the cure, which personally I think is a daft one, because like in the previous games you just had to have the dinosaurs be sick with it to unlock the cure, which made more sense to me. But anyway, we took the photo, did the research, which added enough scientists in, 12 seconds, that wasn't too bad. We could get that done pretty quick. We just waited around in the pen for those 12 seconds so that we could cure our dinosaurs in the middle of a storm. Fortunately, each one only took one dart of medication to heal, but trying to shoot these darts in a windstorm wasn't that easy. I'll be honest, it took a bit of getting used to. However, I did manage to hit most of them in the first try. But this one was just that little bit too far away, which made it just a pain to hit. So we got a bit closer and got the medication sorted. And that was our outbreak controlled. And by the time I finished that, the fences were broken. So, off to the maintenance team, after opening the shelters and realising, what I didn't realise was at this point I only got one shelter, which, while our park's not very big, that's not a big problem. But at a later date that could become problematic if I don't attend to that. So we took out the maintenance team, excuse my voice, to go and fix all the problems that we had, especially the Dilophosaurus fence, which, while they didn't seem to be escaping right now, could have become an issue if the maintenance teams weren't fast enough. Maybe we got lucky and the Dilophosaurs just didn't notice there was a hole in the fence, or either that, or they're just happy in their enclosure and they just don't need to escape. If that's the case, that's a bonus. With the fence repaired, it was time to just take a little drive around and repair any minor damages the storm had caused that weren't going to be a problem, but could easily become a problem. Fortunately, they were all on the Dilophosaurus fence. But with all that repaired, it was time to start opening the shelters, let the guests out, so they can start spending more money. Fortunately, we kept them all safe, so they should be pretty happy. Now, looking at our stegosaurus fossils, I noticed we didn't have many, but a mineral we could sell, and over 50% of the genome in the first dig, which wasn't not an awful result, but I would have liked a few more. And we decided to take this time to rest any staff that were getting close to disgruntled, because we work our staff pretty hard at this park, and while we pay them well, it's nice to give them a rest every now and again. And there will be in this video the occasional pause like that, where fortunately they don't last long, but it's just a point where my son was being particularly irritating, and trying to commentate by saying things that had nothing to do with the video. I mean, he is only 4 after all. He was trying his best. with our fossils extracted, it was time to send out another expedition to find more genomes, because I am not going to release any dinosaurs with less than 100% genome in this park. We want to have the best possible dinosaurs we can, and so sending out more expeditions for more stegosaurus fossils to get closer to that goal. It was at this point that I noticed that viewing gallery isn't going to provide much viewing for our guests. So I decided that at some point soon I would be adding on a second viewing gallery to that habitat. But I also wanted to research wider paths. Now, obviously we don't have the scientists available to do it at the moment because they're all on expeditions, but that was another priority that I had, making the guests more comfortable. More comfortable guests spend more money. And a museum had requested to take our fossils for display, and while the publicity rating for that would have been a nice bonus, we were currently at 100%, and I didn't really want to lose the fossils, so I decided to keep them. So while we were waiting for fossils, I decided to research the wide paths to get our guests more comfortable, so they weren't so crowded around the park, using all our available scientists to get it done as quick as possible. And as I said, adding on the extra viewing gallery. Resting our two disgruntled scientists and anybody else that had any workload was now priority, because I wanted to make sure all our staff remained happy and worked as hard as they can for us. Now we added as much genome as we could get, putting us up to around the 80% mark for the stegosaurus. This would take a little bit longer than previously because we didn't have as many scientists due to everybody resting. But during that time, we got the choice of a contract. Now, I was planning to have the pachycephalosaurus share a territory with any other like species anyway, as the stegosaurus was going to be added in there, but I didn't think I could do it within the time limit. So it was easier just to get a pachycephalosaurus with the long-lived trait for some quick and easy money, as we already have that genome in our we already had that trait into our genome, for the previous pachycephalosaurus, so all it took was just incubating another one. So while we were waiting, I decided to speed up the time, because it was going a little bit slow, and we didn't have much we could do due to a little bit of a lack of funds at the moment. So now we had a few more funds available. We incubated our pachycephalosaurus with the 100% chance of long-lived, using all our available scientists to get it done as fast as possible. 20 seconds didn't seem such a bad one. And we got 5 eggs, but we didn't need that many. We only needed to release the 1, and I didn't want to spend too many funds if I could help it, as we were looking a little short. And I do like to stick around the $1 million mark. So checking them out to see which looked the best. I really liked the look of that male with 4 traits, and the female as well, but I think the female looked a little bit better. So she was the one that got released, and in 1 minute's time that meant I could complete the contract with the maximum bonus for doing it within the 10 minutes. So I used this, I was going to use that time, to incubate the stegosaurus, but, not incubate the stegosaurus, extract the DNA for the stegosaurus, but I figured if we could send out another expedition, that would be better. However, at the moment, a lot of our staff buildings are running off a backup generator, which I thought was a little unnecessary considering we had proper power stations now. So adding in a substation to our staff area saved us a little bit of money, so that we're not burning through backup generator fuel. And now I think our park was starting to take a little bit more shape. Our pachycephalosaurus was ready to release, so we airlifted her into a territory with the others and completed the contract for a nice bonus. Over 400,000 took us back over the $1 million mark, where I like to be sitting. However, we still require more stegosaurus genome. But that was all our scientists rested by the time that was done, so it was time to send out another expedition to get more stegosaurus DNA and get us closer to that 100% mark. And it still leaves us over the £1 million mark, with an expedition only costing around $100,000. But our pachycephalosaurus was flown to her new home, and she settled in nicely with the others. With our expedition returned safely, we had 2 fossils to extract, which didn't give us a lot, but it did take us to around I think 85%, something like that. And I sent out another expedition once I could find the right dig site, because I figured they would all be in America. However, there was still some missing and no dig sites in America available. But apparently Stegosaurus lived in Portugal as well. So we sent out our remaining 3 scientists to Portugal to get whatever fossils we could get from there. I do love the look of the waterfalls you get in this game, and having that available, I had to add one in to the habitat. But I also realised that the guests would need some more amenities up near this new viewing gallery I'd installed. So we added in some restrooms, and an emergency shelter, and linked them up to the power network so that they could be operational. I did think about adding some more drinks, but it seemed that we didn't need any. The coverage we have from our little guest area so far was all good. So we extracted the remaining DNA, apart from the one piece we had left that we couldn't fit into our extraction, getting us right close to the 100% that we needed. But it would take another 2 fossil extractions to get us there to that 100%. With those fossils extracted, it was time to finish the last one, and I noticed that we had the pachycephalosaurs were fighting, and I didn't know why they were fighting, so we went over to have a look, and it seems they were comfortable and probably just fighting for alpha status. But their health was at 100%, and they didn't actually seem to fight. They just circled, and one walked away victorious. With our stegosaurus genome complete, it was time to incubate our first stegosaurus. So we modified the genome with the standard random colours, random patterns per egg, so that everyone looks different. Added on the long-lived trait at 100%. And set them to be synthesized. Again, we used all our best available scientists to get it done as fast as possible. Having a 40-second synthesis is not a bad thing in the slightest. And while we waited, we just had a look around the park to see what was going on, which, in a short answer, was not much. But it did bring us to the end of our synthesis, so we were ready to incubate the stegosaurus. However, they want a population of 3, and we only had 2 viable eggs. So, this would require synthesizing another batch. So we used the same genomes, same scientists, another 43 seconds to synthesize a second batch so that the stegosaurus would have as many as they needed. So we picked one male and one female from the first batch, I believe. Or did I? Oh, I picked both males for this one. I thought I'd done one male and one female from each batch. I do apologise. But the second synthesis was done very quickly, as we say, it was about 40 seconds. Enough time to not really do much and get ready to incubate the second batch, hoping that this batch would be a little bit bigger. Now this batch gave us 3 viable eggs, which annoyingly would have been enough first time round. But as we didn't need one with 3 negative traits, I decided to incubate the 2 and have 2 females from this batch to go with our 2 males from the first batch. Now, our first batch were ready, but I didn't want to leave them for that long when the habitat wasn't really set up for them yet, with less adults than they needed. I thought it was best to wait until the second batch had incubated so that we could release them all together. So we used this time to research a second staff centre and get some more scientists, because I have noticed that a few of our scientists were getting disgruntled a little too quickly, so having a few extras was always going to be good. And now we took a contract for a nice easy take a photo worth $29,000. I thought that shouldn't be too difficult. Take the rangers and take a photo of the pachycephalosaurs, as they were our newest species. They would be, well, whether it is the way it works, I don't know, but I figured that because they were our newest species, they would be worth more. At least they were to me anyway. So we mowed down all the guests along the way. Give them a little bit of diving practice, just in case the dinosaurs escape. And we went to take a photo of the pachycephalosaurs, which we could do easily in the natural habitat of the swamp, with enough dinosaurs in frame that it was easily worth over the 29,000 that we needed, and there was a 70,000 bonus. Giving us another $400,000 for free. By this point, our stegosaurus were ready for incubation, but we could build our next staff centre onto our little worker zone and hire a few more scientists. So we recruited a logistics specialist, a genetics specialist, and a welfare specialist. Meaning we had all 3 specialists and we rested those that were getting a little disgruntled. So now that all the Stegosaurus were ready for release, it was time to release them. I could have sworn that I already incubated them at this point. So we were incubating the second batch. But we could release these 2 into the habitat, separating them apart so that they could build as big a territory as possible early on. Because by the time these were released, the second incubation would have finished and they would be ready for release. With our first Stegosaurus safely in the pen, the second incubation was complete and it was time to release the rest. So again, we separated them to add as wide a territory as possible, and then took a look at what they needed. And they needed a lot of things we didn't have. So it was time to give them food, in the sense of ground fruit and ground fibre, and to give them a little more water, which I don't think they needed. I think they had enough water, but they just needed the food of the ground fibre and the ground fruit without impacting the pachycephalosaurs. But fortunately, there was plenty of space to do it, and all it took was them to expand their territory a little bit and find the food and water they needed. Now, the thoroughfare path did become available for research during this point, but I didn't think we needed it just yet, as the guests didn't look too crowded down our wide paths at the moment. So we topped up the ground fibre a little bit more in that pen, just to make sure they had enough, as they had plenty of ground fruit. And that was 100% comfort. I do love Stegosaurus. I was always a big fan of dinosaurs growing up, and Stegosaurus was always one of my favourites, that and Ankylosaurus, because I loved the armoured dinosaurs that could take on a T-Rex, or the predators of the day at least anyway, as T-Rex did not live with Stegosaurus, although I didn't realise that when I was a kid. But yeah, I always liked the ones that I figured could take on the carnivores. So we used this time and we researched some tour rides, because I figured that's something that the guests would enjoy. Taking a little tour around the park. I know we'd only got 2 habitats at this time, but you know, if you could take a little car and drive around the habitats and get up close and personal with the dinosaurs, that'd be better. And I figured, where better than up here by our new viewing gallery to add in a Jurassic Park tour. And well, we have the 4 options available with the balloon tour, gyrospheres, and the classic Jurassic Park tour, and the 4x4. Well, are they 4x4s? I'm not sure. But the classic Jurassic Park cars were the best that I wanted. They were the ones that we were going to have. Now, I did notice that track was not going to be the best layout outside this pen for the park tour, but for now it would do. And I could restructure it a little bit later, cut down the corners and make it just take up a little bit less space. The guest distribution all looked pretty good, but these 3 shops we had were all very badly configured. So I spent a little bit of time messing around with them, changing the products and features so that they were making a little bit more money, and just the guests were happier with them. Now, as I record a couple of videos in advance while I'm doing this, one thing I do in the next video, but I haven't done in this one, and will be going back in a future video to rectify this, was changing the products and not changing the signs on the shops. Because it just, I don't know, I didn't even think about doing it at this point. It was only during the next video when I was when I'm making an ice cream shop, or no, a sweet shop, sorry, when I noticed having a burger sign outside a sweet shop didn't really look appropriate. So I will be going back and changing the signs on these shops at a later date, but at the moment it wasn't important. I just wanted to get the happiness and satisfaction up, because as you can see, 38% satisfied customers, that's not enough. %, much better. But that is about all we've got time for in this video, as this is about where I ended the recording due to my son actually kicking off and deciding that he wanted to play his games. So, if you did enjoy the video today, please don't forget to like and subscribe, because it greatly helps the channel. If you've got any suggestions for any of the names of any of the dinosaurs, or a naming theme for a species or something like that, drop it in the comments below. Let me know, and it'll certainly get added in at some point, depending on when I get to that. Also, why not leave me a comment? Tell me what your favourite dinosaurs were growing up, and what you enjoyed most learning about with these magnificent creatures. Thank you for your time. See you in the next one. Stay weird.